Welcome to the Backyard Professor Live Sunday evening. I am the Backyard Professor, your host, and we are going to look at something that, in a way, I almost wish I had thought of for my fantasy novel. And in fact, I may very well put something like this in my book because this is ingenious. But the real question is it real? Stay tuned. So we are here tonight, Sunday evening, trying to figure out what are we going to do for church today, if those of you who didn't go to church. And I will be the sacrament meeting speaker tonight because I have a very interesting idea on Mormon testimony. And I'm going to share some parallels with truly one of the most bizarre things I have discovered just this week, Breatharianism. And I have no idea this even existed. And I let me just put it this way. We are talking, this is bizarre. It's fascinating. It's ingenious. It would be cool if it was real. And you can't believe how many people take it seriously and believe it is real. And so I want to talk about that tonight because there are so many people who actually think that the Mormon testimony is also real. And the parallels with this Breatharianism and Mormon testimony are really instructive. I'll put it that way. So let's say hi to everybody. Peter Higgs, Heather Reddick, yeah, baby. Mo C. Mark Crispin, yeah, baby. That's for you too, Bubba. Radio Free Mormon, welcome. Heather Reddick, I already said hi to Heather Reddick. I'll say hi to Heather again. She's worth saying hi to. Several. Wanda Anthony, good to see you. Tim Rathbone, my good friend. Alan Zabriskie, welcome, everybody. Bunny Smith, good to see you. StreamYard. Oh, no, wait. That's the banner. Duh. Oh, boy. I got to bonk myself on the head every now and then. Dan Vogel, welcome, my good friend. Moksha Raver, how you doing? Moksha has been introduced as well to this Breatharianism. He'll probably know basically what I'm talking about tonight, and it's all good because he has some insights too that I want to share with you. But as usual, our message board is chock full of just exquisite discussions on just so many items. I just ran into this Breatharianism from my good friend Gaddy Anton. Yes, I know one of the Book of Mormon robbers. He's one of the three Nephites. He's alive and well and posting on our message board. You didn't know that, did you? What a perfect disguise for one of the three Nephites, acting like he's a skeptic. I mean, that's genius of him, but I'm on to you, Gadiant, and I know who you really are. He has introduced me to this Breatharianism. Now, and what I want to do is I'd like to read a few of the comments in the discussions. Now, I've only had just a few days to look into this and do some research, and I have found some items that just take your breath away, and I will be sharing them tonight. I might actually do a little bit of research with you while I'm here live into things. I've read several articles, and I have not had a chance yet to look into any of the actual documentaries. But I do have some comments on the documentaries from others who have watched them that I will share with you. And so, hey, Andrea Timmers, good to see you. Good to see you. Yes, I see you. So let's, here's what Gaddy Anton posted the other day that just truly surprised me. He always has really good insights. Very sharp mind. I don't want any of you to tell him that I told him that. I've always enjoyed his posts. I very, very much appreciate his exquisite mind. He says, it's amazing how many things out there in the world that I've never heard of. Amen, brother. I watched a documentary last night on Breatharianism, and he's got the link, and it's that link that I've clicked on and looked at several different articles on this subject. I don't recall ever hearing about this practice until running across that documentary recommendation. So in its contemporary incarnation, breatharianists are people who do not eat anything. And they live on sunlight. Or else they live on the energy of the universe. Now, there was a movie that came out a couple of years ago called The Wonder, and this was actually very good. And the idea is the same thing. A young girl persists for weeks and months without food and touted as a miracle by the local church. So, and he says, yes, I did see that movie. No, I have not. I might actually watch it now that I'm writing a fantasy book. I bet I could get some cool ideas out of this. But it's not like I rushed to the internet afterward to look up the practice of sustaining oneself without food, because it seemed like something that was probably fiction. No kidding. And if not fiction, then it's an isolated incident in the 16th century. So it turns out breatharianism is thriving now with a bevy of gurus and high-priced retreats. There's always that. You always have to have, the gurus these days always have to have the high-priced retreats. Wait till you hear about some of these. It's going to blow your mind. For stupid people looking for answers. And it has an illustrious history over the last few decades. So let's take a look. A notable figure discussed in the link above is Jasmuheen. Nifty name, isn't it? Jasmuheen is a white Australian woman and a psychopath, like Joseph Smith, who wrote a book on par with Mary Baker Eddy's Science and Health. And Jasmuheen called her book Living on Light. So the crux of the book is how to survive your first 21 days with no food and water. Now, I am here to say as clearly as I can, do not do this. It is beyond stupid. I am not advocating this lunacy. Just to be clear, the Backyard Professor does not advocate this. I need that crystal clear. You're just wrong if you attempt this. This is phony, false baloney. Just to be clear. So, the dumb thing is, all people think they have to do is watch something on YouTube or read it in an article somewhere in a magazine, and it's true. And so I should try it. That's called being stupid. And there are some people who tried this 21 days with no food and water. And 3 people who read the book and tried this died. And what was Jasmuheen's response? Complete indifference. She doesn't give a damn about your health. What she says she's interested in is your spirituality. And the longer, apparently, that you can go without food and water, which is stupid, the more spiritual you will grow. And there's people who swallow this kind of swill in our world. They have brains, they don't know how to use them, apparently. You know? Don't laugh at them. Our entire world of technology is brain dumbing us all down into the 2-minute shorts that we put out on YouTube and TikTok. And they're teaching the younger generation that if you have to watch something for longer than 2 minutes, it's not worth your time. They're going to be as dumb as dirt, you realize. And we're all following after them by producing this crap, agreeing because the YouTube and others encourage this use of the YouTube to just do quick little sound bites. You get more views, and more views make you more money. Woohoo! And therefore, if you've ever noticed so many shorts, everything now has become shocking. It's just shocking. Whether it's in Catholicism, oh, that's shocking. Or Mormonism, oh, that's shocking. I'm shocked at how shocking that shocking comment is. And it's all just hype. It's eyewash and window dressing. So don't laugh at these people too hard when it's happening to us as well. But this is really stupid. Let me keep going here. And this is what Jasmuheen tells her followers. If they can't do this, then they weren't pure enough to do it. Does that sound familiar? And they have to become more spiritual. How do you do that? By eating less and drinking less all the time until you frickin' kill yourself. Then, ta-da, you're spiritual. But by then you won't give a damn because you're going to be in the next place of existence if such a thing exists. You have to kill yourself to become more spiritual in this method. We're talking El Stupido lunatic here, folks. But there's tens of thousands of people who believe this. You can't even make this stuff up, man. Another one is, well, if you failed, then you obviously weren't sincere enough. Does that sound familiar? Is this not the cheap pop Mormon psychology that was used on us for us to get our testimonies? It is. Isn't that amazing? Basically, the Mormon answers for why a person doesn't get confirmation for the Book of Mormon is the same logic as why a person can't go their first 21 days without food. Now, of course, the spiritual leader being of a higher, holier order than thou, they go months and months and months and years without food. because they're the leader. They're better than you. They have more attunement to the energy of the sun than you, a crass physical individual who doesn't have the faith or the sincerity to do what they do. And so everybody goes to them for advice, especially those who go years without food and water and decades without food and water. And if you think I'm bluffing you, wait till you see some of the announcements I found. It's going to curl your hair even if you're bald. It is breathtaking, the utter abject lack of intellectual skill and knowledge that we all have been dumbed down to accept the ridiculous bullshit out there that is being told to us as the truth. Folks, we have to begin to learn how to use our brains again in all areas. This is staggering how ridiculous this gets. We're not even going from the sublime to the ridiculous. This is the ridiculous to the complete stupid as far as that goes. And I'm not calling anyone stupid. I'm saying we have to begin to think through some general basic logic that a fifth grader can comprehend. When you're hungry, eat. Duh. And when you're thirsty, drink. Duh. Yeah, no, we're talking as basic as it can get, really. So, but let me move on. I'm getting off on a tangent because it's going to blow your mind what I share with you tonight. It's going to stagger. You're going to think I'm making this up. So, and of course, true to every form of brainwash scandal and movement, it does have scandals involved in it. Several gurus have been caught red-handed eating. But of course, just like in Mormonism, several of those, quote, gurus have been caught cheating. Duh. Yes, this is where we're at as a species, unfortunately, as it should be. Several gurus have been caught living for more than 10 days. Jasmuheen takes videos of herself, and it's no secret that her home contains a well-stocked refrigerator. But that's for other people in her home. She doesn't get in that fridge when no one's looking and sneak some goodies and take a swig of milk. No, she's going without the food and the drink all the time because she is so spiritual. There are people who believe her and pay her hundreds of thousands of dollars for a 2-day retreat so that they too can learn how to absorb the nutrients in the sunshine and stop eating and drinking. Wow. So 60 Minutes and many others have put these gurus to the test. And of course, when they basically fail after just a few days, their response are things like this. This is how the gurus get out of being caught to be complete, phony, fake frauds. This is how they do it. Now, see if this rings any bells in your minds. Well, the air in the test environment wasn't pure enough. Oh boy. Or, see, it's an insane negotiation because they are already going for stretches of months and years and even decades with no problem. So all of the setup and the deliberation for a mere week proves that it's a fraud long before the test even begins. But see, they don't think that way because they're gurus. They want one thing from you. They want one thing from you: your money. Give me the money. Tithing, pay the tithing. That's what it always boils down to, folks. I'm telling you. So how does this relate to Mormon testimony? Now we get to another little bit of a different angle here that I thought was extremely interesting. Hold on while I keep my fast going and don't drink this water. Oh, I can feel the spirituality growing by the moment. So I've mentioned some parallels already, and there are many other obvious connections, but I do have something specific in mind, and I thought Gad's point here was very interesting. I've long been at odds with not only believers, but my fellow unbelievers for my position that testimony is a willful and knowing fabrication. Okay, with rare exception, people are lying about their testimonies. So true believing Mormons, TBMs we call them, claim that testimony is an overpowering manifestation of the Holy Ghost. Skeptics tend to believe testimony is a powerful manifestation also, but it is one with natural causes like DMT and an emotionally charged crowd or another high-pressure situation. Groupthink. Now, I don't claim this is never the case, but the vast majority of testimony is fabrication in my view. So Breatharianism seems to back up my belief here. Let's take a look at how. There are many things that you might, in theory, become confused about. Okay? But whether or not you've eaten in the last year is not one of those things that you are confused about. So if you're claiming to live on sunlight and not eat food or drink water for more than a couple days at a time, you're a filthy liar. And you know it. Spot on in my take. So pacing the Mormon testimony dilemma are the dupes trying to live on the sunlight. You have the sociopaths like Joseph Smith who outright lie with no conscience and gain the interest of stupid and broken people looking for answers. From there, the choices are you try it sincerely and you fail. In the case of Breatharianism, failure is death. That's the only option. And you go without food, and by day 21, you are dead, and the funeral is over. The closest parallel are those who admit they didn't get an answer, or they don't join, or they drop out, to the jeering of their friends and leaders who insist it's their own fault. Then there are those who catch the Rudy Giuliani wink. It was stolen. And they learn to lie themselves, to say they aren't eating when in fact they are eating. These people aren't sociopaths at all. They are relatively normal people who succumb to peer pressure. So there are a great number of LDS who get up and they bear their testimony without a shadow of a doubt, and they allude to an experience that confirms everything 100%. Well, for some, that is really easy. For others, that takes a long time, but none of them would have done it without peer pressure. They wouldn't have invented the frauds themselves in a million years. And then There are those who believe, who are captivated by the idea, but they struggle and are forever unsure of themselves. They pay for the retreats and believe those around them who are lying, but they are honest, and they can't bring themselves to actually say that they aren't eating if they are eating. Similar to folks like my mom. Everyone who knew her would say she was the best living example of the Mormon faith that they've ever known. Now, this is Gaddy Anton speaking about his mom. She was the best living example of the Mormon faith that they've ever known, but she didn't run to the podium to bear testimony. And she told me more than once that she never received the burning in the bosom, and she always felt a little less about her faith because she'd been denied the supernatural confirmation that so many others receive. So now I realize I've gone on for a while, but a final important point. Sure, while Breatharianism, there are no false positives, in Mormon testimony, I grant a few false positives. People who have had real experiences, that is, overpowering emotionalism, flow right after reading and prayer, etc. But here's the thing. If entire communities like Breatharianism can arise so easily on obvious lies and manipulation and cheating, then that tells me the social organizing force of a sociopathic, charismatic leader hitched to a cornucopia of desperate followers who bring each other in line through peer pressure is a far more powerful force than mass hypnosis. And so those real experiences are the exception, not the rule. In religions where false positives are possible, like Mormonism. Now, that is quite a comment. That's a pretty good post by my friend Gaddy Anton. I'll drink to that, Gad. Another very dear friend of mine, physics guy, he also brings up something very interesting I want to share with you. Breatharianism seems to be a bit more popular than I thought, and I will second this in my brief, 3-day research into Breatharianism. I was kind of surprised. There's tens of thousands of people who believe this hokey shit, that it can attract any interest at all does demonstrate the existence of psychological and social mechanisms that can allow humans to maintain belief in just about anything, including belief in belief. It is the brainwash power of convincing us that it is better to believe than to be skeptical that costs you and I a lot of money and time, which we will never get back. So beware without the actual evidence of any belief claims would be my solemn advice as an experienced former believer in a religion that I no longer accept and think is true, for what that's worth. So, with such a concrete physical claim as living for weeks without water, which is pure bullshit. It doesn't happen. It didn't happen. It won't happen. It won't happen. I can't say that any clearer. 4 days. 8 at most. And you get to go back home and talk to Jesus, if that's where you think you're going to go. Otherwise, say hi to Lucifer for me. Or the angel Moroni, either one. So with such a concrete physical claim as living for weeks without water, which is idiotic to believe in, it may be a bit hard to see how breatharianism could be supported by spiritual experiences. Now let's get to this. This could be interesting. How is any burning in the bosom going to convince you that you didn't drink water for 10 days? You either did and you're dead, you dork, or else you didn't. You cheated and you're still alive to tell about it. Yeah. But does that really mean that all breatharians, and not just crazy or crooked leaders, must be consciously lying? Good question. Let's explore this just a bit. What I suspect, according to Physics Guy, is that breatharians must have some lesser goals and prizes to offer, short of the big goal of living 3 weeks or more without water. There must at least be some talk about the initial benefits or less extreme fasts and the signs that one is on the right path toward the ultimate goal of freedom from matter or whatever. See, hunger and dehydration definitely do have effects on the brain. There's no question there, short of ultimately killing it. So I can imagine that people who are trying to work towards full breatharian fasting may be able to point to things that seem like evidence that it all makes sense and can work. Now, here he has a very interesting take on this. So be careful if you're approached by a breatharian and they begin to say stuff like this, because in the short term, you may very well begin to see these things that they're telling you you will experience and imagine that you're gaining a testimony of the truth, just like they try to brainwash you in any major organizational religion called church. Moderate fasting will make you lose weight, for instance. Yes. And even better, once you break that fast with even a small amount of food, that's going to feel amazing. Absolutely. Yes. So beware here, see? Dehydration might make you lightheaded or something. Maybe it makes you lightheaded enough to let you sneak a small drink and forget that you did it. Fasting does get easier with practice. That is true, as you learn how to conserve energy and to deal psychologically with the hunger. So if you start getting into breatharianism, I expect you may accumulate some experiences that can seem to support your beliefs and goals. So this is where we have to learn how to think critically, right? They're not going to give you the full ultimate picture. 100%. Listen to me. You can quote me here. This is a backyard professor quote. You can use this. In fact, I insist you do use this. The backyard professor says 100% of anyone who tries breatharianism and tries to go for 6 weeks without food or water is going to die. Dead, done, kaput, finish, no more. That's my quote. So, here's the thing though. If people encourage each other within the movement, within breatharianism, by reporting some sense of exciting spiritual progress, see, they're going to make sense because there are changes that they will identify as proof of your spiritual progress, right? You see how the psychology here is working. Mormonism does the same thing, except without food and water. They do it through the scriptures and testimony and all that. It's the same principle here. You can fast for a few days and avoid water for a day or two, and changes will occur. These changes are you growing spiritually. Do you want to become even more spiritual? You know, one of my goals as a Mormon in my youth is I wanted to be just like Brother Denker. I wanted to be a spiritual giant. Well, in in this group, how do you say their stupid name? Breatharianism. Within Breatharianism, if you feel good after doing it for 2 days, how much stronger, how much better, how much more spiritual will you get if you do it for 3? And then go 4. And then go 5 days, right? You can become a god. You have to learn to do it yourselves. It's how Joseph Smith taught you, right? Well, breatharians will just keep stretching it out until, gosh, they'll come up with some cock and bullshit story like, well, one time several years ago, I went for 3 years without it. And I got to see angels and God, and I conversed with him every Thursday over coffee and tea and all that. Who knows what bullshit they're going to tell you? And if they tell you that, call them on it. I personally will never accept anybody without me, and even I can't do that because there's no way you can survey him 24/7. Whoever claimed to go for 6 months without food and drink, not happening. 6 weeks without food and any fluid whatsoever, not happening. After just 3 days, your body physiology really starts changing. Your eyes begin to gloss over. Your pulse quickens. Your body is changing in not good ways. This is fact based on millions of observations in hospitals, etc. That is why they intravenously feed you to keep you alive. You die otherwise. It's the same thing as if you're not in a hospital and you're out there on the street. Just so I'm very clear here. So if people say that they've lived for weeks without water, which I would absolutely never believe, I wouldn't care how sincere, I wouldn't care if they spoke with me in this still small voice of the Spirit. Brother Shirts, I can assure you by my apostolic authority, I have been 6 weeks without water. I have done so through the sustaining power of the Holy Ghost and the Melchizedek priesthood. I wouldn't give a flying flip if they spoke to me in that tone of voice. I would say bullshit. And that is how I would respond. But that's just me. Your mileage may vary. So you got to learn to get rid of their psychological manipulation. That's actually what we post-Mormons fight most of all, or people who are going through the transition out of Mormonism, is the manipulation psychologically, which they say is spiritual, and therefore, they can throw in there, well, Satan's tempting you and he's winning, and you're going to lose your family, and you're going to lose your blessings. Oh my gosh, all those blessings. Oh, the blessings. Think of the blessings. Don't be so selfish. Where is your loyalty? Be loyal to your pioneer heritage. I mean, on and on and on. The line of pure cockamamie bullshit stretches far longer than a light year in length, as far as I'm concerned, in order to manipulate you, to make you feel guilty and fearful and a failure if you don't keep doing it their way. That's the same psychology breatharianism is using on their people. And it works for them. So don't laugh at these poor people, because you and I also got sucked in to something ridiculous like this. You see what I mean? We're all victims in one way or another. That's why some of us get on here and do live presentations and make videos loud mouthing it over that we're pissed as hell and we're not going to take it anymore, and we want to help others get through these problems, right? Otherwise, why are we doing this? Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So here's the issue. Some of those people could actually be deluded and yet still be honest. I mean, not everyone's lying. I know honest Mormons. I still have friends who are Mormon who I believe are actually honest, but they're just deluded. Just because you're deluded doesn't mean you're dishonest and a deceiver. No, that does not follow, right? Same here. Fasting might have created those delusions. Isn't that interesting? So I'd agree that in this case, they are most likely consciously lying, though, about their fasting capabilities. If it gets much longer than 2 weeks without water, not happening. There is just no way. I wouldn't believe it. Well, and physics guy says too, physics guy isn't saying all this. I'm kind of throwing in my own ideas here too, but he says, I'd be a bit surprised if social pressure to conform were all that big of a factor in making breatharians consciously lie, though, because I don't get a sense that breatharians form large enough communities to exert that kind of pressure routinely. All right, in a way, it makes sense. But there are tens of thousands of these poor dupes out there in the world, seriously. So if there are a few cases of little cells of a dozen or so dedicated breatharians, and that seems to be the essential case of it all living near each other and egging on one another with false pretenses to be subsisting on just sunlight, I'm thinking this would be such a rare and weird thing that we might best just write it off as a folie à deux. Yes, a deception with two, rather than look to it for clues about how more successful memes spread. And so Gadianton says, where physics guy says moderate fasting will make you lose weight, and then breaking the fast with an even smaller amount of food will feel amazing, so dehydration might make you lightheaded or something, Gadianton responds to that and he says, oh, now this is a really good point. And certainly the community fabric could be driven by brain effects due to constant fasting. Ding, 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 ding. Bells need to be going off in your head right now. Red light alert right now. The Mormons frequently do this, fasting. For what? Fast and testimony meeting, right? So here's something to just perk up a little, be aware, turn on your brain for a minute and listen. Perhaps that plays an important community role. In Mormonism, there's no perhaps there. It does. So as I've said in the past, given Mormonism is so business-like, there's virtually nothing, such as high-energy praise worship, that would induce a physiological testimony aside from what members do privately in prayer and even fasting, and those who put themselves through the meat grinder are the candidates for having an ethereal experience. I just think that this is the exception. I actually think a community rooted in euphoric experiences, such as visions, first, second, third, or fourth ones, it doesn't matter. A community who is rooted in this type of supernaturalism is less stable than a community rooted in lies and propaganda. Now, that's good news for dictators and bad news for their subjects. So the most direct comparison in my ruminating is the actual testimony itself. So let's take a look at this. A person who fasts many days, and it doesn't matter whether you're going to fast many days so that you can read the Book of Mormon 15 hours a day and pray or meditate and bask in the light. The content of the witness is different for the Mormon and the Breatharian. The Mormon has to say, I felt euphoric, and therefore the church is true. However, when we look at the Breatharian, they may feel euphoric and they may witness about how great things are by day 3. And hell, perhaps that's a real stumbling block because the newbies take it to the point that they're getting something positive out of fasting from food and water for days on end at a time, and they don't push on from there. But the similar claim to a Mormon who says they felt that lightning bolt, and that confirms 100% the church is true, is that they went 21 days without eating, independent of how they felt. Anyway, I think it would be important to get a handle on the claims made by the lay members of the movement. Can fabrication be avoided? And how much does the physiological effects of starvation influence belief? All of these are good points for further study. And I would agree with that heartily, yes. So here is one of the, this is a Wikipedia entry that I looked up in Edia. And I know I'm pronouncing this wrong, it's Latin, meaning to fast, or Breatharianism. This is the claimed ability for a person to live without consuming food and in some cases water. It is a pseudoscientific practice. It's actually worse than that. It's stupidly dangerous. I seriously will never advocate for this, ever. So, and several adherents of these practices have died from starvation or more likely dehydration, as not having followed security guidelines, especially forced change too fast. A good basic health is one of the prerequisites taught by experts in the field. Multiple cases where this practice was attempted have resulted in failure or death. Breatharians claim that food, and sometimes water, is not necessary for survival. The term breatharianism or inedia may also be used when it is practiced as a lifestyle in place of a usual diet. I will never do so. Documented studies on the physiological, that is, how does the body react to this stupidity of stopping consuming all food and water, clearly shows that fasting for extended periods does, in fact, lead to starvation and or dehydration and eventual death. That is final. Anyone who claims they have done this for longer than 3 to 6 months is lying. If you believe that, I have seaside property here in Idaho. I will sell you dirt cheap, $1 million an acre. Its value is $1 billion. No, you may not look at it first. You trust me. I am speaking the truth. I have 200 acres of this. Send me the wire. Send me the money through the wire, and I will sell you this wonderful surfing seaside property with beautiful white beaches right here in Idaho. If you are stupid enough to send me that money, I truly will praise you to the high heavens. Not for your abject stupidity, but for you sending me the money. You get no different with this breatharian promise. In the absence of food intake, the body normally burns its own reserves of glycogen. Now, this is true. You will lose weight. I mean, it's a good thing to diet, you know. This is the idea of intermediate fasting. This is not breatharianism. This is a legitimate medical intermediate fasting, which is very good for you. You don't eat after 6 o'clock at night, and then you wait until the next day at noon. You've gone 18 hours without food. Then you eat a very nice, hearty, full, complete, well-rounded lunch and a small dinner the next night. And then after that, you repeat. Now, that can help you lose weight in a healthy manner, right? So it will, once it uses up the glycogen, then it turns to the body fat, and eventually your own body will eat its own muscle if you do not continue giving it nutrition. You eat yourself dead. Doesn't sound like a very nice way to go, does it? But that's what essentially is happening here. So breatharians claim that their bodies do not consume these reserves while fasting, and they're full of bullshit. Every physical body we have ever seen and or tested does this way because that is how it works. That's the reality. See, just because someone in a suit and a tie or dressed in a real nice toga and a fancy headband with a diamond worth $8 million on their headband tells you something doesn't mean it's truth. You test all claims. Now, of course, they're going to try to tell you, well, you really should believe me because I'm known. I'm known for being a Book of Mormon expert, or I'm known for being a real Egyptologist. What I say about the Joseph Smith Papyri is actually accurate and true. My name is John Gee. Or if a breatharian says, I'm known, I have the reputation, I have the proof, I have witnesses. They do rely on witnesses that saw me go without food and water for 8 months. And so you need to follow me and come to my retreats. And I too will teach you how to become more spiritual. Nope. The backyard professor will not sucker for something like that. I would seriously advise the rest of you to follow suit. Don't believe me, test it yourself, right? But they're going to want you to believe them. You notice they always emphasize, well, you've got to have belief, otherwise it won't work. If it won't work, then there's no way belief is going to make it work. Mathematics works whether you believe it or not. Science works whether you believe it or not. If it's real, it works. Duh. Turn it on. Use the gray stuff, folks. Turn it on, man. So, in a handful of documented cases, individuals attempting breatharian fastings have died. And so it is a dangerous idea. Do not do it. The basic fact is we all need food and liquid in our diet to live, and I will drink to that. And to hell with growing spiritually from dieting away from it. That feels so good. I believe that's true. Why? Because I've got the personal evidence. And you too can find out the wonderful beauties of drinking nice cold water to quench your thirst and continue living a delightful, happy, successful, healthy life, loving others also, instead of making your body eat itself to death in just 2 to 3 weeks like some moron who doesn't want to think through the issue. I'm just saying. And no, it's not Everclear. That's ice water. That's good stuff. So, and now some of the alleged practitioners were the Rosicrucians. See, you can blame Paracelsus and the Rosicrucians on everything and get away with it. There's one guy called Bakji, Ram Bahadur Bamjan, is the Nepalese Buddhist monk who lives as an ascetic in a remote area of Nepal. Bamjan appears to go for long periods of time without ingesting either food or water. And one such period was chronicled in a 2006 Discovery Channel documentary titled The Boy with Divine Powers. Now, isn't it interesting that someone can go without food and water for weeks on end and they claim it's divine powers? And that's what hooks some of the more gullible, less thinking, stupid people on our planet. You use those magic words like the Mormons use priesthood, right? Or garments, or endowment, or spirituality, or the covenant path. and they hook you. Yeah. Well, gosh, I would love to be on the covenant path. That sounds like glorious spirituality. There's a sucker born every minute, man. That's amazing. Now, in this documentary, it reported that Bomb John neither moved, ate, nor drank anything during 96 hours of filming. The documentary makers were, however, prevented from filming Bomb John continuously for that period of time. There's always a catch, right? Because if you're actually filming him 24/7, it's going to fail. So if you can just please take the camera off me just for a couple of minutes. I've got a stash of food and water back here I'd really like to get, because damn, 3 days have gone by and I'm really thirsty and I got to get a drink, but I can't let you video me here. Pure unadulterated bullshit, brainwashing, and lies. Lies and manipulation. That's what it is, folks. His claims have never been objectively verified. Gee, does that surprise anyone? No. Bomb John has attracted controversy for abuse and violence against his followers and against any who investigate him. Gosh, I wonder why. He has been accused of rape, kidnapping, and physical violence. Gee, I wonder why. You know, snot-nosed little brat's what he is. Prahlad Jani was an Indian sadhu who claimed to have lived without food and water for more than 70 years. Please don't tell me there's someone who actually falls for that. Seriously. God, that's dumber than anything Joseph Smith ever came up with, or Russell Nelson. His claims were investigated by doctors at Sterling Hospital, Gujarat, in 2003 and 2010. The study concluded that Prahlad Jani was able to survive under observation for 10 days without food and water. Well, 10 days damn sure ain't 70 years now, is it? Right? So, gad-free, man. And he had passed no urine or stool either. Whoop-de-doo. With no need for dialysis. So anyway, that's another one that this pure cockamamie. And then Jaz Muheen, this is the one she's the most famous, of course, because she's pretty and she was born Ellen Grieve. She was a prominent advocate for breatharianism in the 1990s. She said, I can go for months and months without having anything at all other than a cup of tea. Bullshit. My body runs on a different kind of nourishment. Bullshit. Interviewers found her house stocked with food. Jaz Muheen claimed the food was for her husband and daughter. Of course. We know she wouldn't cheat. No. In 1999, she volunteered to be monitored closely by the Australian television program 60 Minutes for 1 week without eating to demonstrate her methods. Again, 1 week is not months and months, just so you're aware. Learn how to think here. Jaz Muheen stated that she found it difficult on the third day of the test because the hotel room in which she was confined was located near a busy road. Now, what in the... The road's too busy, so I can't keep going without food and water. Is anybody gonna believe that? I mean, really? Holy crap. And it caused stress. Oh, and pollution. And this prevented absorption of required nutrients from the air. Gosh. I asked for fresh air. 70% of my nutrients come from fresh air. 70% of my nutrients come from fresh air. Would you really want her teaching your own kids? I mean, man, there is no way. I couldn't even breathe, she said. Oh, horror. Well, you're not eating and drinking, so you probably don't need the air either. It'll just absorb through your skin. Just hold your breath, honey. The third day, the test was moved to a mountainside retreat where her condition continued to deteriorate. Is that any surprise? After Joss Muheen had fasted for 4 days, Beres Wink, the president of the Queensland branch of the Austrian Medical Association, told her she must stop the test. She was on death's door, and so she stopped the test in just 4 days. So there we go. Her pupils were dilated after 4 days. Her speech was slow, and she was quite dehydrated, probably over 10%, getting up to 11%. Toward the end of the test, she said, her pulse is about double what it was when she started. The risk if she goes on is, get this, kidney failure. In just 4 days, your kidneys can fail. So these people that claim, oh, I am one great big giant spiritual dude, I can go for 4 solid weeks. Malarkey. Chico, be quiet, puppy. So, anyway, this is the kind of stupid crap that's thrown around as supposed reality in order to get your money. And it doesn't matter whether it's a cult like this or a cult out of Salt Lake City. It doesn't matter. They just have different words, but their methods are a lot the same. That's what I'm trying to get across tonight. So, look, she says, 6,000 people have done this around the world without any problem. No, they haven't. Just because someone says something doesn't mean it's true. I just don't believe it. I don't. As of 2017, 5 deaths have been directly linked to breatharianism as a result of Joss Muheen's publications, and yet she's denied any responsibility for 3 of those deaths. Now, Wiley Brooks, here's the one I've been wanting to get to, and then I think I'll close out tonight. Wiley Brooks is amazing. 1936 to 2016, so he just recently passed away. He lived a good long life living on sunshine. Cheating like hell with other stuff, but he didn't want you to know that. He was the founder of the Breatharian Institute of America. Did you know the Breatharian Institute of America existed? He was first introduced to the public in 1980 when he appeared on the TV show That's Incredible. Brooks stopped teaching shortly before his death in 2016 in order to devote 100% of his time on solving the problem as to why he needed to eat some type of food to keep his physical body alive and allow his light body to manifest completely. You don't say. Brooks claims to have found 4 major deterrents which prevented him from living without food. So here comes the blame game. Here's why I couldn't survive from not eating and not drinking water. It's not my fault. There is 4 problems that occurred that prevented me from demonstrating the truth of this situation. The 4 things are people pollution, food pollution, air pollution, and electro pollution. Damn it, man. Everything is too dirty. If it was a cleaner world, I could go without food and water and survive. But I can't because of all the filth out there. In 1983, he was reportedly observed leaving a Santa Cruz 7-Eleven with a Slurpee, a hot dog, and Twinkies. Hey, Chico, quit. My dog's barking like crazy. I don't know if you can hear him or not. He told Colors Magazine in 2003. Now, this is the guy that claims eating nothing and drinking nothing is perfectly a legit way to live. You can do it for years and decades. Breatharianism. But here's what he said when he got caught at a 7-Eleven with a Slurpee, a hot dog, and Twinkies. I mean, go big or go home. He won't even freaking eat anything healthy. He told Colors magazine in 2003 that he periodically breaks his fasting with a cheeseburger and a cola, explaining that when he's surrounded by junk culture and junk food, consuming them adds balance. No shit, Sherlock. That's because you're so weak you can't walk normal. When you eat nutrition, you can be balanced. What a scientific nitwit. That's not it, though. Wiley Brooks later claimed, I'm quoting this, I promise, I'm not just saying this. This is this is in the Wikipedia for under Inedia, Inedia. I'm not kidding. You'll want to read this if you think I'm pulling your leg. Here's what Wiley Brooks claimed. Okay, now listen. This is very important spiritual knowledge we all need. All McDonald's, the fast food chain, all McDonald's are constructed on properties that are protected by fifth dimensional high energy spiritual portals, encouraging the consumption of Diet Coke and McDonald's double quarter pounder with cheese meal. It is also acceptable to combine 2 quarter pounder with cheeseburgers to make 1 double quarter pounder if you can't get the double quarter pounder with cheese where you live, and discouraging the consumption of water of any kind. The idea of separate but interconnected 5D, 5-dimensional and 3-dimensional worlds is a major part of Wiley Brooks' ideology. And Wiley Brooks encourages his followers to only eat these special 5-dimensional foods from McDonald's, as well as to meditate on a set of magical 5-dimensional words. Brooks Institute has set various prices for prospective clients wishing to learn how to live without food, ranging from US dollars $100,000 for a day retreat with an initial deposit of $10,000 to $50 billion to be paid through the bank wire transfer with the preliminary deposit of $100,000 for a session called Immortality Workshop. Now, a payment plan was also offered. These charges were typically presented as a limited time offer exclusively for billionaires. You don't say? $50 billion, and he'll teach you how to become immortal. You quit eating and quit drinking, and you frickin' die, and there you go. Ta-da! Problem solved. Right here, right now, folks. You can get the Backyard Professor exclusive. I will cut that price in half for you, and I will only ask you for $25 billion. I can't even make this up. This is so lunatic. But here's the cream of the crop. I went to his webpage. And here it is. great big letters underlined, bright orange. Attention, breatharians. The future and origin of us all is that of a natural breatharian. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. In the beginning, we were all natural breatharians, sustained by the breath of life in the original human God body. This is therefore our inevitable conclusion. Breatharianism has never had anything to do with whether or not one takes in physical foods. It is a path that connects our divine origin with our divine destiny. This is his version of the covenant path, is what I'm suspecting. There is an old wise saying that you've got to stand up where you fall down. In regards to the breatharian movement, this analogy is about our fall from grace in the Garden of Eden. Precisely where we fell, we must get up. In eating the proverbial apple, a process was initiated in which humans, the children of Gaia, entered the beautiful and painful initiation of divine free will. Now, we must stand with the knowledge of good and evil. We must also stand within the process of eating all together in the knowledge of what to eat in order to produce the original God body that the Creator created in the beginning. After all, you are what you eat. That's why they want you to learn how to eat just sunshine. They're not trying to blow sunshine up your ass. They're trying to blow sunshine down your stomach. What is breatharianism? The most inclusive definition of a breatharian was stated plainly by Wiley Brooks, the father of the breatharian movement. A breatharian is one who breathes. Is that not profound enough for us? Hold on, he's not done. This definition expresses the inclusiveness of both this movement and your Creator. If you are sustained by the breath of life, you are a breatharian. If you are a human, you are a natural breatharian. It's that simple. Any other definition is meant to divide us. So, this may come, I'm still reading. This may come as no surprise to you, but the entire breatharian movement has been infiltrated by beings who are obsessed with gathering the spiritual energy of this human movement. This is done with the simple divide and conquer strategy, with spiritual elitism as the reward. Keep that in mind. The problem is people want to be spiritually elite above others. Keep that in mind. Any teacher who is teaching that hey, Chico, quiet. Sorry. Any teacher who is teaching that a breatharian does not eat food is either willingly or unwittingly acting as an agent of darkness. What a blatant contradiction, right? These teachers are creating separation within this world throughout the breatharian movement and within the entire human family. Thankfully, our Creator is fully aware of the nefarious plans of those who seek to harm us and usurp our divine free will. Their plans will lead to their own demise, and so it is. Now, a breatharian is a person who can, under proper conditions, live with or without eating physical food, Wiley was first introduced to the world back in 1981 when he appeared on the show That's Incredible, demonstrating his strength by lifting 1,100 pounds of weights, nearly 10 times his own body weight. And I will officially say bullshit. I don't believe it, even if it was on camera. There was some, because if you saw his picture, you know damn well that was faked. Now then, we're going to get to his fifth dimensional diet. Well, not tonight, but maybe another time. Here is what he says. My DNA came to humanity by the means of the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail. And all of you in the world now hold this DNA in your blood. My DNA runs in your veins, and I come now to enliven it. Wiley has had past lives. Here is who Wiley has been in previous incarnations. Adam, Zeus, Enoch, Jeshua, Jesus the Christ, Joshua, Elijah, John the Baptist, St. Francis of Assisi, Kuthumi, Balthazar, the king of Syria, Mughal, Emperor Shah Jahan, the builder of the Taj Mahal in Agra, India, Joseph Smith, and William Mulholland. Wiley C. Brooks is the cosmic man. And then it shows a couple of videos of him saying who he is. So Joseph Smith was alive. He just died in 2016. He just came back as Wiley C. Brooks, as the cosmic man. He used to be Adam and Zeus and Enoch and Jesus Christ and all of the great big gurus, you know. And let's be realistic. I'm not buying any of this. So anyway, that's pretty much, I haven't even been looking at the comments. Hey, Patty Cake, Vega Dog, good to see you too. Fine Girl, good to see you. Janet Myers, good to see you. Doug Vincent, the man. Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have for tonight. I just wanted to share the new spiritual undigestion of a new movement that gives you great spirituality, so it claims. You know, I am to the point in my life to where any system or anybody who claims that my system will improve your spirituality, you need to turn and frickin' run away. Run! Don't sit there and think you can outthink them. You can't. They can't think in the first place. They will never comprehend logic. So don't talk to them. You know, I mean, it's staggering how ridiculous our world has gotten in so many ways. So, all right, you guys, thank you for watching the Backyard Professor Live. That's Breatharianism with the parallels to Mormon testimony. Hey, Newton Lemos, good to see you. And Chico, my audience is yelling at you to shut up. Boy, dang puppy anyway. Well, she wants to be he wants to be famous too. Hey, would you like to see Chico? I'll go get him real quick. Hold on. It's my new Chihuahua. He's a good puppy. Hang on. Hey, come here, Chico, buddy. My audience wants to see you, bud. Yeah, he's a good boy. You're barking like crazy, aren't you? Yeah, come here. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah, he's a good puppy. I'm going to make you famous. Yeah, I'm going to make Chico Puppy famous. This is the puppy that has been making so much noise. This is Chico. Chico, look in the camera. There they are. Can you see everybody? Wave hi to him. Oh, he's a good puppy. See, there you are. See, right there. You're live right now. You're becoming famous, huh? Oh, he's a good boy. He's such a good puppy. I like this dog. Trouble is, he's got tracheal collapse. So, darn it, I'm not going to have him for too long. But he's a good puppy. He's a good puppy, aren't you, buddy? Okay. Okay, here we go. Let me take you back up the stairs. There you go. Good boy. Good boy. All right, that's enough. That's enough live BYP entertainment noise tonight. Appreciate all your support and patronage. I hope you guys have a good night. Hope you guys have a good week. Hopefully I can get on next week and share some more ideas with you. I've said all I ever want to say ever again on breatharianism, unless I hear somebody joining them. And if you do, send them to this video, would you? Because it's a crime that people even have to think about stuff like that. Now, if it was in a fantasy novel, then that would be fun. But they're treating this as actual reality, and it's costing people their lives. So that's not good. So, all right, you guys, appreciate you. Have fun, be well, do good, make lots of friends. Don't stay up late at night unless, of course, you're having fun. And I will see all of you next week, Sunday, 6 p.m., so far as I can tell. Thanks for watching.